Welcome to Beer Untapped with Perry Miller, the podcast. I'm joined by Seth.
Hey, welcome, guys. Thanks for finding us on the internet.
Now, these shows originally aired on Brookings Radio, but now they're all here for your enjoyment. I hope you like it.
There you go. Sit back, enjoy the show, relax. Let us know if you want to see anything on future shows. As we said, this comes out live in the Brookings area, but enjoy this archive episode.
Beer Untapped with Perry Miller. Welcome to Beer Untapped with Perry Miller. This week, tasting beer. Now, I mean really tasting beer when you take it to the next level and start to think carefully about the beverage you're consuming. Here's Seth Koch from Wooden Legs Brewing in Brookings.
Like wine tasting, beer tasting needs to be pretty deliberate. There's things you're looking for, there's certain characteristics, and there's things that take a little bit of concentration, a little bit of training in some cases to pick out. But the major differentiator between beer tasting and wine tasting is, by all means, do not spit your beer out.
Yeah, don't ever do that.
It's beer. And all joking aside, there actually are elements of beer that are only exposed and only really enjoyed after you taste it, after you swallow it, the aftertaste.
The aftertaste is huge
and
in
those
some
things.
beers.
So I've always raised an eye to the wine tasting clubs that spit it out in the spittoon.
So you got that with beer, no spitting it out. But when you have a really good beer, you probably don't want to guzzle it down either.
Most culinary experiences aren't just the flavor, but also how it looks, how it appears, how it smells, not just how it tastes, but how it feels, mouth feels. So there's a lot of characteristics that go into tasting beer that you actually are going to have to be deliberate about.
There are 4 things you can think about: appearance, aroma, taste, and mouthfeel. Start with pouring that beer into the glass. Look it over. What's the color? The clarity? How much head is there? Does the foam leave some lacing behind? Now, when you've taken a good look, it's time for the nose to take over. Give that beer a nice swirl.
So after we look at it and agitate it, we actually do want to just put our nose in it and take a smell. There's a couple of things that you can sense, all the way from the phenolics and the alcohol flavors to the hop flavors to the sweet flavors. There's a lot you can actually sense through the nose, and even off flavors as well. Off flavors can come out predominantly through how you smell it. 95% of what you experience of your taste is actually through sensing and smelling.
Seth says a series of short sniffs with the mouth open is the best way to catch the aromas. It may look a little funny, but yeah, give it a shot. Once you've had a sufficient olfactory experience, time to taste.
Take the drink, take a sip of it. Resist the urge to swallow immediately. Kind of let it sit on your palate a little, but do swallow, because as it passes into your throat and into your stomach, it actually leaves residuals in your mouth.
Flavors that can come from different styles of beer go way beyond what we can mention here.
Looking for sweetness or salty, there could be acid, there could be bitterness. There's all kinds of things to really sense for. Really cold beers, this is a good point, really cold beers mask flavors. So if you're pulling something, and some beers are intended to serve very, very cold. American adjunct lagers are served well and by intent to be served very cold. But if you're testing through like a barley wine or something that has some of these really robust complexities, if you're serving those at the 32 degrees, you're going to miss a lot of that.
More on tasting beer when Beer Untapped continues.
Hefeweizen or a pale, double, triple or a stout. If it's a light beer, pour it out. You can pour that
it out. Welcome back to Beer Untapped with Perry Miller. Today we're talking about tasting beers. Now, we've talked about appearance, aroma, and the actual taste. There's another component, mouthfeel. Is the beer thick or thin, bubbly or less carbonated? Does it finish dry? That's all part of mouthfeel. Keeping notes on each beer you try is a great way to develop those beer senses.
At the end of the day, it is just beer. There is no wrong way to taste beer. I think if you take notes and just judge against yourself of what you like and what you don't like and why you like it and why you don't like it, I think you've come a long ways. Down at the pub, we host on occasion tasting seminars and tasting panels. And by all means, if you're just looking to taste beers, come in and try a flight. I mean, there's ways that you can really just taste through a beer without having to be committed to a whole 20 ounces.
Another great way to try to find different beers you like is to hold a tasting. Friends get together with everyone bringing a different beer or two to try out.
Either you bring 2 big bottles or maybe 2 small bottles or 2 small cans even these days. Some phenomenal beers are being put in cans. And line them all up appropriately and start start passing them around with little Dixie cups.
That's Brennan Sully Sullivan from Pints and Quarts in Brookings. Part of the fun of holding a tasting is figuring out the order you're going to drink them in.
I typically go light to dark and low ABV to higher ABV, and that typically works out hand in hand. And if something's sweeter, I usually try and keep that one for the end, unless you have something that's enormously hoppy. I mean, just something over the top that's just going to just ruin your palate.
There's no real rules for a tasting, but usually everybody tries to bring something really good.
I mean, you bring what you want to bring, and if it's not up to par, everybody will let you know as such.
In heaven there is no beer. That's why we drink it.
The new Mike Tap Handle Beer of the Week at Pints and Quarts is actually 3 great beers from North Coast Brewing.
3 new good beers from North Coast Brewing in Fort Bragg, California. We have Old Stock Ale, which is, it's really caramely. It's got slight hop finish. I mean, lots of notes of like stone fruit.
And it's huge.
Yeah, it's like 10.8% alcohol, I think. We have their Old Number 38, which is their stout, and we have that one on nitro, and that's a fantastic stout. It's just, I mean, it's creamy and delicious. It's, you know, it's lower ABV too.
No, there's this little gem right here.
Yeah, the little gem that we're having right now is the Puck.
And this is a wonderful saison.
Oh, it's a little bit peppery. I get apricot, pepper, a few other spices, and it finishes nice and dry.
Finally, a little bit of beer news. Bank Brewing in Hendricks is holding a special event this Saturday, January 10th, Into the Black, as they hold a release party for their new Imperial Black IPA. Starts at 1 p.m. at the tap room over there in Hendricks. With that next beer you crack, look it over, smell it, take a sip, enjoy it. Part of the experience. Next time, the Brits. British beers and styles on Beer Untapped with Perry Miller. Remember, drink local and drink responsibly. Thank you for listening to this archived edition of Beer Untapped with Perry Miller. Feel free to listen to other episodes, and if there's anything you'd like us to talk about on a future show, please let us know. Thanks again.